Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Justin Villery with the Committee of 70. We are back for another entry into our Studio C70 student candidate interviews. This morning, we are very excited to have Brian Kisielewski, who is running for Judge of the Court of Common Pleas in Philadelphia on the Democratic side. And he's going to be interviewed today by Mr. McGeehan's class at the Academy at Palumbo. There's AP testing going on, so we're very excited that they fit us into Mr. McGeehan's class. So thank you both. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McGeehan. And thank you, Brian, for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you to Brian and to Justin for getting this arranged. We're excited. This is a mostly 12th grade with some 11th graders social science honors class where we basically focus on civics and understanding how government works. So we're excited to interact with someone who's running for office right now. So thanks so much for taking the time to be with us. We're going to kick it off with some speed round questions. So I'll let our first student introduce himself and start with the questions.
Hello, I'm Andy Chen. And my first question to you would be, what is your favorite song, movie, or book?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So I'm a big Stephen King fan, so I'll go with book. I love the Dark Tower series, and so the Gunslinger shows that I'm kind of a nerdy person, but yeah, I'm a big reader, and so I love Stephen King books. They're a nice, easy read that gives me a little scare.
Interesting. So you said that you lived in Philly for almost half your life. So my next question would be, what is your favorite Philly restaurant?
Oh man. So I used to live on Catherine Street, right at 12th and Catherine, where I think you probably know exactly where that is. And so there was a little Italian restaurant, a Mise, right up 13th Street that it closed during the pandemic, but that's where my wife and I had our first date. And it was our favorite restaurant. Sadly, it closed, but still a great location.
That's nice to know. The next question is, cats or dogs? Which is the better end?
Cats are easy, man. It's not a good answer, but like you can literally have a cat that doesn't bother you, and they chase mice. So sometimes we need that in Philadelphia.
What's your favorite place to get cheesesteak?
Delisandro's. I live up in Roxborough now, and so that's my spot. Always love their rolls, and yeah, no going wrong with Delisandro's.
Hmm. And this is a really interesting question. 100 average humans versus one silverback gorilla. Who do you think will win?
Gorilla.
Okay.
There's no chance. Gorilla.
Okay. Well, that was the speed round.
All right. Turn it over to our next student interviewer.
Hi, my name is Shireen Q, and I'm a senior Academy at Palumbo. So I'll be asking some questions about your background. And my first question is, as someone working in law, what are some values that you find important?
Honesty is probably the best value to have, because a lot of times in the law, you can be kind of put in a difficult situation where sometimes it's benefiting your client or benefiting someone else when you are being dishonest or not 100% truthful. And law, there's a lot of gray areas in there, and interpretation of the law where you can kind of step outside of kind of the easy black and white answers, but keeping honest, making sure that you are being truthful with the courts, with your clients. I am a very straightforward and blunt person. I don't feel like there should be any beating around the bush when you're talking to people. And so making sure that you are upfront, honest, and just having that as being a baseline will treat everybody really well, both in the law and in life. The other hard part is just working hard. Every legal job that I've had, I may not have been the best person, but I've always worked harder than everybody else. Mostly because I've been lucky to have jobs that I really liked, that I wanted to do, and so I enjoyed doing them. But if you work hard, in the end, people will take notice of that. And that's how I've benefited in my career, and I've gotten to where I am because I'm willing to work harder than everybody else.
Yes, that's great to hear. I think that's a really good values, not only like working in law, but as like a person like itself. And my second question is, what inspired you to pursue a career in law?
I have always been somebody that was interested in law. When I was younger, I was one of those kids that the teachers always said in elementary school that, I think Brian's going to be a lawyer one day, because I was always argumentative and asked questions and wouldn't accept answers. It seems like, it's code for, Brian talks too much and is probably a little bit troublesome. But also it's just the way that I've been. I've always wanted answers. I'd always, not accepted if somebody's telling me something that I didn't think was 100% right or truthful or didn't make sense. But when I was in high school, I signed up for a mock trial and I was hooked. Just the opportunity to be able to pretend and kind of do like play acting in that way and basically go through a legal case, get to do the sides of being a witness, doing an opening, a closing, and just the thrill of doing a cross-examination. Like, I actually won an award when I was in junior in high school because my opportunity was to cross-examine them, and I got them to admit something that they shouldn't have, and basically then had a snappy comeback and said no further questions. And it was like a thrilling moment that I've always thought about. And so it's been I won't say that's like my lifelong dream to be a lawyer, but it's always been where I had planned my career, going into college, being a political science major, doing a lot of government work, and making sure that I was always pointing towards being a lawyer. And then once I got into the law, seeing that, hopefully being a judge one day would be the ultimate goal.
That's really impressive. So it's like you know that what you wanted to do when you were younger, and then like you just kind of like stood on top of that and worked yourself through like bringing what you have like been right now. That's like really nice. My last question is, what is your proudest case or accomplishment in your career?
My proudest moment was I was representing a family of a veteran in a housing case. I was representing the tenant in a landlord-tenant matter. The landlord was not basically doing what they were supposed to, and left a lot of mold in the house, would just basically paint over it or put like drywall over the moldy walls. And my client had 2 young kids who were getting sick, and I sued them. And so I sued them on behalf of my client after they were then basically trying to be evicted for failure to pay rent. And they had properly gone through all the steps. They were legally in the right to not pay rent because their house was in disarray because of mold and water issues. And so then I sued them for all these different issues, and COVID hit. And so we had basically been winning the case, and I had to put the case on hold for 9 months, just continuing to follow up, continuing to hold on to it, and ultimately got a victory for my clients. They didn't owe any money to them. The landlord actually had to pay them back money from rent that they had paid, and they were able to walk away from the property. And so I was able to help a family and a veteran and somebody who just really was getting screwed over, and it made me feel good. And it was one of the cases where there was a lot of things that I wasn't able to do during the pandemic because of all of the shutdowns, but I would constantly be following up, checking to see how he was, checking to see how his family was. Like, he lost his mother during that time too. And so it was a whole lot of difficult circumstances, but I was not letting that go. It was just a family that I cared about. It was the only case that I was actively working on during the pandemic because everything else was just done. But I was never going to let them continue to suffer, even though there was so much else going on in the world. And for me, that's a highlight that I am extremely proud of and am happy to talk about. I'm really proud of what I was able to do, even in a small case like that. It was only a couple $1,000s that they ended up getting, but it really made the difference in their lives because they were able to find new housing with somebody who actually took care of the property and kept their kids from continuing to get sick from the mold in the property.
That's like a really impressive case right there, especially like after like 9 months of like after COVID hit and I had to stop. So it was like I think like I guess like by like the descriptions it was like a really tough fight. But like I understand like it's like a really like a big case, and then like how like you have like had a I guess like impact on their life, giving them like suing them, giving them more money and like a better property for them to live in.
Yeah, all about values for people and making sure that families are safe. That's the important part.
Turn it over to our next couple student interviewers.
Good morning. My name is Jayla Fitzgerald, and I'm a junior at the Academy at Palumbo.
Hi, my name is Mahogany Johnson, and I'm also senior here at the Academy of Palumbo.
And our next questions are just on the role of the Court of Common Pleas and your views on it. So our first question is, what do you see as the biggest challenge currently facing the Philadelphia Court of Common Pleas?
Access. There's so many limitations in just regular people having access to the court, understanding the process, limitations on people being able to afford attorneys, and understanding what is going on in their cases, even when they sometimes do have attorneys. I've worked as pro bono counsel for a number of years now. I've been an advocate for different areas of the courts. I've worked in the courts as a court administrator, so I know better than many of the other candidates here about what the limitations are for people to be able to get in the court and have an actual fair chance. There's so many things that people want to know about it, but if you don't have an attorney or you don't have somebody who can help you get there, then you're just left out. And so many times people are left out in times where it is important for them in their lives, whether or not it's a criminal case, a family law case, or dealing with something as simple as housing. It is not a fair system, and there's so much inequality that we face on a daily basis that the courts should try to be as equal as possible. That's one of the reasons why I'm running, to make sure that we have as much equity in the courts as we can. And that starts with people having access. And so it's access to information, access to an opportunity to participate, language access, just basic information to help people understand the process. There's so many times people walk away from cases and say, I don't know what happened. I don't know how this could happen. And that never should be the way any case ends. Every single person should understand what happened, and maybe they don't understand why it happened in the end or why they still lost, but understanding what happened and what they can do next is just a bare minimum that we should have. It's, the courts should be open to everybody, and the courts should work for everyone equally. And the fact that that doesn't happen on a regular basis is really one of the main things that I want to try to be able to accomplish. And hopefully I'll get that opportunity as a judge.
Thank you. And this next one kind of bounces off of the first one. What have you contributed to the pro bono efforts? Or would you contribute?
Yeah, no, my role right now is pro bono counsel, or I was pro bono counsel at a law firm here in Philadelphia. I basically ran a program on the East Coast, up and down, multiple offices, and my home base is in Philadelphia. And so my job was to coordinate all the pro bono services for the law firm in Philadelphia and other places. I also then directly contributed my own work to matters dealing with housing, civil rights, nonprofit, just anything that was needed. And so, that's been how I've dedicated my career for the last 8 years or so. And it's important to me that people have the opportunity to have counsel. Pro bono is free legal services for people or organizations that can't otherwise afford it. It's important that people have that because it goes back to having access, having information, and being able to actually participate in the process. And a lot of times, if you don't have an attorney, you have an unequal opportunity. That same thing happens in civil court, in criminal court, in family court. Having an attorney is a lot of times what determines the outcome. Not always. There are times where you can actually win without an attorney or with a counsel that is not as well prepared or has the opportunity, especially in criminal court. The public defender's office, the federal defenders, they are inundated with less money, less resources, less time, but they are really good attorneys. And so we should be making sure that the playing field in all cases are level. And so acting as pro bono counsel has been something that was passionate of mine from when I worked in the courts and saw the limitations that people had on a daily basis. And so I wanted to kind of put my money where my mouth was and step in and take in that role. And so all the clients that I've worked with for the last 8 years have all been pro bono. And I hope that, me running as for judge will help to see that this is a viable career path, that people should be doing pro bono work, public interest work. We have fantastic organizations across Philadelphia that just do good work for working families and communities. all the time. And a lot of it is work that doesn't get highlighted nearly enough.
Okay, so bouncing off your point about people lacking knowledge and lacking resources, how do you hope to ensure that the people lacking resources are heard?
It starts with so all I can do is start with, if I'm lucky enough to be a judge, is with my courtroom. And so making sure that every single person that steps in there understands why they're there, what's going on, and not letting proceedings go by without them having an understanding. So that's letting them have the opportunity to speak, making sure that they know that I heard them and that I am responding to them, and then taking a step back and then, telling them what's happening and walking them through the process. There's no reason why people should be confused about what's going on or why they're there, and especially if they have counsel and they're saying, I don't understand why this is happening. As a judge, it's an opportunity for you then not to, take over their case, but to help them understand and provide them with information. That is a judge's job, is to make sure that things are fair and that things are moving forward and that they're not just leaving people behind. And we have too many times in life in this country where people are left behind, and that is not what's going to happen in my courtroom. And I want to make sure then that as a judge, if I'm lucky enough, that then I can bring that to a larger area of court, help to provide resources and start programs where the people can have more access, whether it's right to counsel, whether or not it's information programs, help desks, help centers, whatever it is, to bring resources to the court that can help people. That's the goal.
And I actually really like your response to that, because the next one goes off and it says, how will you continue engaging with your community if you're elected? So this could be like in general or relating to pro bono, but just how would you engage?
Yeah, one of the things that I've done as an attorney is gone into local 8th grade classes and taught civics. And so that's been through Pennsylvania for Modern Courts, and it's a really great opportunity. And so the program is where you pair with a judge. So it's a judge and attorney, and you teach different areas of civics, whether or not it's the Constitution, talking about trial by jury, and walking through different processes. I want to continue to do that because that's at a bare minimum showing, young people like yourselves that judges are just regular people. It's engaging with the community to make sure that the first time that somebody sees a judge is not when they are in a family law case or if they're losing their housing or in a criminal case. The first time somebody sees a judge should be on a regular area, either in school or at a community center. Like, those are ways for the judges to continue to engage with community. It's important because people need to understand that judges are members of the community. You don't give that up when you put a robe on. You continue to be a member of community, and the community should see you. And also, you should be able to hear issues from the community. Not that you are going to be able to change everything, not that you can tell them that you're going to do different work or, rule in cases in a specific way, but engaging with the community to hear what concerns they have or issues is not a bad thing. Judges control a lot of things in their individual courtroom and have access to resources to be able to help. There is no reason why judges should not be in the community and continue to hear from them when they reach the bench. Obviously, there is some things they can't talk about, how they'll rule in cases or providing direct legal services to anybody. A judge can't do that, but there are ways to engage with the community to show them that they care and that they're trying to work to solve issues when they come up.
Okay, thank you. So how have your experiences shaped your views and policies?
All of my experiences, like every single day, I'm learning new things, experiencing new things that help to shape, who I am as an attorney, how I view things. Working as a government employee, as a court administrator, helped to shape how I viewed people's access to the courts, made me want to change my career and become a pro bono attorney. And being a pro bono attorney has helped to shape how I view people engaging with the legal process and seeing how marginalized communities are impacted by the courts. The courts have the power to take away people's freedom, take away people's children, take away housing, and take away money. The impact is great, and so many people are impacted by the court on a regular basis. And so all of my experiences have shaped how I see it, how I think there is, just a view of fairness and equality and how processes should be. It's important to me that everybody has the same access. And that is shaped by the clients that I've had in pro bono and the work that I've done with the courts. I would not have had that experience if I did not go through it. And all of that is something I'm going to take with me on the bench. It is going to shape my mindset of making sure that things are done fairly, that everybody has the same opportunity, because that's important. Because giving people the opportunity doesn't mean that you're going to rule in their favor 100% of the time, but giving them the same opportunity to be able to have an outcome that's fair. That's what we can do. And that's, as judges, that's our responsibility.
And then our next one is, what prompted you to establish the Elder Justice and Civil Resource Center? So how did you know like that gap needed to be bridged for senior citizens when it comes to civil resources?
Yeah, that was, I was a court administrator in City Hall. So there's a filing office there, and every single day people would come in and not have information, not have attorneys, not know what's going on, and ask for assistance. And as a government employee, I couldn't actually give them legal advice. I could provide them with as much information as possible, but a lot of times people need more than just information. They need somebody to tell them, like, what are their options? What is actually happening? You know, tell them what the practical outcome is going to be depending on what they do. And so myself and some other court administrators helped to start the Elder Justice and Civil Resource Center. We made sure that it was right around the corner from the filing office so that people could go into the filing office. If they had questions, they had a place to go to get resources, information. You know, it's great that we have all these legal service organizations, but sometimes if you tell somebody that, you know, go up to, 1500 Broad Street and you're in City Hall, when they leave there, you have no idea whether or not they're going to come back, whether or not they're going to get to that office. So having some place where they can go and start to get help and start to get a hold on what they're actually going to do and what is happening in their case, that gives them their own ownership of it. And you can actually still see what their process is going to be, as opposed to, when they leave that door, I have no idea what's going to happen. And so it's important for me that people had information, because one, it would make processes more efficient in the court, and also just plain old help people. And that's what we should be doing. That's what the government should be doing, is setting up resources so that people can get help that they need. And so I saw that firsthand. I would have had no idea that that was something that was necessary, and it helped to shape how that office evolved from just originally it was just for elder justice, and we expanded it to being, elder and civil justice in other areas, because more people needed it. And once they heard that we had an elder justice center, they said, well, how can I get help? I'm 30 years old. I'm not, a senior citizen. And so it was just an expansion of need. And that's what we need to do with the court. We need to see that there's a need, continue to expand, and find resources to be able to help people. It can't do everything for everybody, but every little bit helps to make sure that people have fair access to the process.
Okay, so to wrap it up, we have one final question for you. Would you say your views contradict or agree with Philadelphians?
Well, I'd hope that my views agree with Philadelphians. I can't say that I would probably have agreement with everybody on everything, but overall, my views are, to try to make things easier for the people of Philadelphia, to try to make things better for Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a diverse, very big city, and so obviously I can't agree with everybody on everything, but it's important that the overall issues of making sure that people have better access and opportunity. That's it. Like that's one of my main platforms, is to make sure that people have access, opportunity. And if people don't agree with that, then I think I'm okay. In my mind, if you are in agreement that people need better access and opportunity, then we can at least have a good starting point. And everybody else, I'll continue to have a conversation, because even if you disagree with me, I think we can find common ground on some issues. But I think the majority of Philadelphians will believe that there's nothing wrong with access and opportunity.
Thank you. We really enjoyed this conversation, and I liked hearing how you were also in mock trial. It felt very inspiring because I'm in mock trial myself. So hearing that you took that and made something out of it and you're doing good with it is very inspirational. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear you're in mock trial. It's a great program, and I'm glad that Palumbo has it and you can participate.
Yes, and I am the coach. So we love hearing about mock trial. And yeah, Mahogany's been a great member and unfortunately is graduating. But we do have another junior who's on mock trial, and another junior who has been on mock trial and might return to us, also in the room. So yeah, you have a mock trial friendly crowd.
Well, Please let me know. I'd love to come back next year and visit you all. I'd love to be able to just stop by and say hello, hopefully as a judge, but either way, as an attorney, I'd still be happy to come in and talk with the group because I love mock trial. I wish I could still coach. I haven't done that in a couple of years, but it was a great experience for me.
Yeah. Well, we thank you so much for your time. Class, if you give them a round of applause. And then we also appreciate Mahogany, Jayla, Strang, and Andy for asking questions. Give them a round of applause too.
Yeah, thank you all. And give yourselves a big round of applause for great questions and an engaging conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And
Thank
thanks,
you all.
thanks, Justin, for bringing us together.
Of course. And for everybody in the public stream, May 20th is election day. We hope you get out and vote. Thank you very much to both of you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.